Call the meeting to order and welcome you to the joint City of Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County Commission meeting on October 22nd, 2018. I would recognize that there is a quorum on the Minnehaha County side.
Clerk, will you read the roll for the city, please?
Councilmember Staley?
Here.
Brecky?
Here.
Erickson?
Here.
Kylie?
Here.
Neitzert?
Here.
Selberg?
Here.
Sale?
Here.
Starr?
Here.
We also have a quorum present.
I'm going to ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask for an amended motion on the County Commission side for the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Turn your microphone on, excuse me.
is that what the green light's for? Madam Chair, I'd like to amend the agenda to put item number 2 before item number 1.
I have a motion. Is there a second? I have a motion and a second to reverse the order of the agenda 1 and 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now I would look for a motion on the amended agenda. Excuse me.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for...
Just a minute. We have to finish. I need a motion on the amended agenda from the county. Sorry.
I make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Councilor Erickson, you're on.
Sorry. Thank you. I'll make a motion for approval of the regular agenda by moving item 2 before item 1.
Second.
Okay. Second on that. Can I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0, and I look for a motion on the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Erickson, seconded by Selberg. Can I have a vote on that, please?
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0.
Agenda item number 1 is a sidewalk change order for the Irene Hall Museum Resource Center. Good morning, Bill. Or afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bill Hoskins, Director of Siouxland Heritage Museums. I'm sorry to be here with a continuation of the sidewalk saga. The sidewalk connecting the parking lot with the street as designed does not meet ADA code. And so they had to come up with a different design, which is kind of a sweeping S, and it will cost more money. Pesca Construction, who the sidewalk is under their contract, wanted $4,247 in addition to do the redesigned sidewalk. Wilkins Flatwork, who is doing the 54th Street sidewalk, will do that work for $2,550. We went to Pesca for a deduct for taking the sidewalk out of theirs. They would deduct $969.39. I am recommending a change order that you deduct from Pesca's contract the $969.39 and authorize me to spend $2,550 with Wilkins Flatwork to get all the sidewalks done.
Thank you, Bill. Is there anyone from the audience that has a comment on this sidewalk? Seeing none, is there anyone on the council side and the commission side that has a question or a comment for Bill? Okay.
Madam Chair, it needs to be done. I would make a motion to do the deduct and sign the other contract.
Thank you. Have a motion?
A second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Do I have a motion from the city council side to approve this item?
So moved. Brecky.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Brecky and seconded by Kylie. Any further discussion? If not, a vote on this, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Brecky?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
All right, that passes 8-0.
Item number 2 is the second reading of an ordinance amended
the 2002 revised joint zoning ordinance for Minnehaha County and the City of Sioux Falls by rezoning property at the west 350 feet, of the south 400 feet, of the north 1,378 feet, of the east 560 feet, Lot 1, Olson Edition, west 1/2, northeast 1/4, Section 10, Township 101 North, Range 50 West, Wayne Township, Minnehaha County, from the A1 Agricultural District to the Emerald Pines Planned Development District. This was came to the Minnehaha County Planning and was approved 7-0, and the Sioux Falls Planning Commission recommended approval 4-1. Scott?
Yes, thank you. Scott Anderson, County Planning Director.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I need to recuse myself. The applicant on this rezone is a partner in my husband's law firm, and since the standard of conduct for the city council is to avoid the appearance of impropriety, I don't think I should be having anything to do with the zoning, the rezone. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brecky.
Yes,
Scott.
thank you. This is an item that was continued from the September meeting, and this is a second reading. And for those that are not familiar with this and the viewing audience, I'll briefly explain what the request is. The applicant is Myron Olson, and the location of the property is at 7701 West Maple Street, and he is requesting to rezone approximately 3.2 acres from from A1 Agriculture District to a planned development. And the planned development, as shown on the screen, is to rezone it to allow for an events facility and also basically a law office for the applicant to work out of there should he decide to do some work at the site. It has gone before the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission went to the Planning Commission in July, the July 23rd meeting, and both the City Planning Commission and the County Planning Commissions recommended approval of the rezoning request. And so it comes to you today with a recommendation of approval from the Joint Planning Commission meetings. I would be glad to answer any questions. It is basically an events facility, commonly called wedding barn, but there are going to be other events besides weddings that would be held there.
Thank you, Scott. I'll ask if there's anyone from the audience that wishes to comment on this.
Hi, I'm Mike Cooper, representing the City of Sioux Falls. I wanted to just start out by quickly emphasizing the importance of the relationship that we have with the City of Sioux Falls and Minnehaha County. Since the mid-1970s, we've had this thing called joint jurisdiction. And it really has taken kind of two directions as far as why we've done this over the years. Obviously, city boundaries are not static, whether we're talking about Sioux Falls or Del Rapids or Baltic or Crooks. And so part of the idea of joint jurisdiction was to look at land uses within the future projected growth areas of a city to make sure that those uses would not either jeopardize the fact that the city was growing out towards them, or vice versa, that they would not jeopardize the ability of the city limits to expand. The second really major focus has been on the rural areas themselves, because we still are primarily an agricultural county. And so we want to make sure that land uses don't jeopardize agricultural operations or create a demand for services that, say, a township cannot provide. And that's really been the focus of why we developed density zoning and limiting the idea of rural subdivisions within this joint jurisdictional area. So that's been kind of the two focuses over the years of why we've had these land use regulations between the city and Minnehaha County, as well as we do with Lincoln County. So as we've started to look at this specific application, that's some of the things that we initially took a look at. Now, what has changed from a month ago? As Scott has said, we went back and looked at the joint meeting with the two planning commissions and reviewed that information, the discussion that was held. Also, the fact that this is being requested to a PD, it's very specific as far as what this use would be allowed to have on the property, as opposed to a general application for, say, rezoning it to commercial, which would open up a lot more potential uses of the property in the future. And then with a PD, the next step would be a final development plan, which would go to a joint meeting of the county and city planning commissions. And that final development plan gives us the ability to put conditions or requirements on a PD to address things like parking and noise and anything that might be an impact on the surrounding property, or that may be a concern of how this particular use is going to operate, including things like the hours. So what you'll see is if this is approved tonight, the next step would be in November to take it to a joint planning commission meeting and look at those standards that would be part of the PD. The other thing that I'll just mention is that when we've seen these conflicts emerge over the years, typically it's when we have the residential out there first, and then a commercial or a non-residential use wants to come along after the fact. In this case, it's kind of the reverse. We have existing, there is some existing rural residential along Madison Street, but the balance of this property is still agricultural in use. And as we've talked before, it's in what we call a Tier 3 growth area of the city of Sioux Falls, which means it's out toward the end of our 20-year planning period. So after a further review, the city staff is now comfortable endorsing this along with the planning commission that we could support this going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Are there any questions from the City Council or the County Commission to either of the planning people from city or county? Seeing none, I would look for a motion on the commission side.
Would make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll need a roll call vote on the county side.
Madam Chair, could I comment?
Commissioner Barth?
I just want to say that last month it was a little bit of a difficult meeting, and I really appreciate the City Council in agreeing to defer action. Councilman Nietzert could have insisted that we vote on it, and that would have put things dead for 6 months or so. And so I really appreciate the fact that we were able to defer it and study the issue a little bit more and move towards a positive outcome. Mr. Cooper's comments, I appreciate them very much as well, but thank you on the City Council and for last month. Hopefully today you'll see things differently, but thank you very much.
So we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Barth?
Aye.
Bender?
Aye.
Benega?
Aye.
Heiberger?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Counselor Neitzer, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. First of all, thank you for that recognition. I didn't feel it was right for me to essentially have veto power because of just the situation we were in, as low as we were. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. I didn't want it to be something where they'd have to wait 6 months if others, disagreed with me. I would say, for me, the entire purpose, or the purpose of joint jurisdictional zoning, is to have orderly development and try to prevent conflicts in the future. The fact that this land is this close to city limits, or it means it's going to be in the city limits sooner than later, most likely, or at the very least it's going to be surrounded. Orderly land use doesn't happen by accident. It happens with long-range comprehensive planning, thinking these things out, having a vision, not just thinking about next year. Lack of planning and coordination creates fights and issues with bizarre incompatibilities in the future. And I totally understand how obviously somebody in the county would not appreciate somebody elected like me or a city employee having a say in what they do. Of course, they don't vote for me, so I get that. However, for the greater good, we've entered into a joint agreement. Could the county pull out of it? Sure, they could. I think that would be very short-sighted and unfortunate. We should be working in cooperation, but that doesn't mean that we always have to agree. We can constructively disagree, which is what I think we're doing right now, and keep communicating. I think this is going to be a great facility. That's not the point. I have no concerns in that regard. My issue is, would I put a traffic-generating events venue essentially in the middle of a section where they might be going through a neighborhood in the future to get there? My simple answer to that is no. Thanks.
Before I take comment, I'd like to have a motion
Move to approve Erickson.
Second, Kylie.
Okay, move to approve Erickson, seconded by Kylie. Counselor Erickson.
Thank you. And thank you, Counselor Neitzert, as well as others. Last month was kind of interesting how the meeting shook down, and essentially you could have had veto power, and so I'm grateful for you at least letting us delay this, work through some of the details, and see if we can come up with some sort of solution. The reason why I'm supporting this is because it's a plan development. Plan developments are much different than just a commercial use, and so for those reasons, this body will have more oversight in making sure that there's not issues leading out into the future. Maybe it isn't the most ideal to have the commercial in there first, but they are there first, and I have a hard time stopping commercial development in hopes that we're going to have some houses there at some day. Plans change. We've seen that happen a lot of times, and so my hope is that you will support this and support the development of this, and we will get to see what comes next with the plan development. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Other discussion? Counselor Kiley?
Thank you. As Director Cooper had mentioned a few minutes ago, and as I'd mentioned last month, future development will know what they're developing around, because this is much different. This is the first property that's going to be in that area, so they'll come in eyes wide open, so to speak. And regardless, I can think of a particular area in my southeast district where there's a venue right across multi-housing that offers similar services, and they seem to cohabitate well together. So I'm in favor of this project and look forward to voting on it in the next few minutes.
Counselor Staley.
Excuse me. This was an unusual thing for me because I didn't realize that a farmer who owns X amount of acres of land would be restricted into what he could do with that land. So it was kind of I think our whole community is maybe not aware of how this joint jurisdictional authority works. But my question for whomever wants to answer it here is, let's say that this farmer, you are a farmer, correct? Yeah. Oh, okay. He lives on kind of a farmstead. I'll call farmstead-like land. Anyway, let's say that he wants to have his relative build a house out there on a different parcel of land. Do they have to come up and get some kind of permission from us to do that?
Well, we at the county and the city, we have what's called density zoning. So you basically get one building eligibility or housing, the right to build a house per 40 acres. And there is already a house on this property that the applicant lives in, which is along Maple Street. So there are no more available building eligibilities. So in order for them to do any kind of development, they would have to rezone the property, and that would require a hearing, and just like we're going through now, and we would determine whether that was compatible and was appropriate at that point in time.
So he can't sell part of that off as an acreage to someone right now, or I mean, but he could decide. Let's say he says, I'm not into the city plan of what the city wants, which he hasn't had any input into that plan, right? He hasn't had any input into the joint jurisdictional long-term plan. This guy sitting here.
Not maybe personally, but overall the public has been invited when we adopted joint zoning with public hearings. And so there is a process that we incorporate to solicit people's opinions and to get them to participate. That's not to say that he can't sell property off. He can, but he could not build a house on it.
So if he wants to break this into acreages, just recreational things, he'll have to get permission to do that.
In order to develop it, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other discussion on the counselor's motion on the floor? Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote from the council, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Brecky? Erickson?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzert?
No.
Selberg?
Yes.
Sale?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes. That item passes 6-1.
And I'd announce that the item has passed both bodies at this point. We'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone that has anything that they would like to say to this body before adjournment? Seeing none, I would ask for an adjournment on the county side.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Motion to adjourn from the council.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
We're adjourned.